Okay guys, we are back again in another lesson today. Today we are focusing on manufacturing cost accounting, as you know it. Cost accounting, also called manufacturing. So we will be doing this paper, pre-trial exam 2022. This is the Mpumalanga pre-trial exam for 2022. So we'll be focusing on that paper. If you need it, I can send it to you. You can just WhatsApp me or email me, do whatsoever. I can send it to you. But other than that, most of my papers, I download them at stanmorephysics.com. You can go to my previous videos to check my other papers where I download them. So thank you guys for the support. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for the replies. I'm always looking at your replies. Thank you for the feedback. And yeah, I will probably make more videos, just that we're against time. Sometimes time is not available, but as soon as I get free time, I do make these videos. So thank you very much for the support. I would like to request one more thing, guys. Please subscribe. Don't just watch, also subscribe there to show support to the channel, so that it also grows and reach more targets and more learners in South Africa. So please click that subscribe button just right there. It does not even take a second. Thank you, and shout out to everyone who's been supporting me, Kolesha in KZN, and everyone. Thank you guys. So let's get into today's lesson. It's a question 2. Yeah, I'm planning on doing this whole paper actually. So probably I'll be starting here on question 2, then doing other questions as well. This will also help you on your final exam, towards your final exam, as you will just go to the videos and just watch what's happening. Remember that accounting, they just repeat one and the same thing, they don't change. So if you just practice these videos, practice these papers, there is no way you will fail your exam. So if you need further assistance, you are free to WhatsApp me or just send me an email. Thank you. So let's get into the paper, guys. Let's get into the paper. Today I will be using a what color is this? They are saying the males are color blind, so I'm not sure which color is this, whether it's blue or purple or whatsoever. So I'll be using this color. Please bear with me, guys. My black ink iphelile, so I'm going to use this one for today. So yeah, let's go into it. As you can see, question number 2.1.1, prepare the following. Prepare the following for the year that ended in February 2022. This is a 45 marks question for 36 minutes. Don't forget to stick to the time, guys. And the only thing that will help you to stick to the time is for you to practice more and more papers. Without that, there is no way you are going to stick to the time. So do yourself a favor and practice. There is no way you're going to fail accounting if you practice. They repeat one and the same thing. So let's do this manufacturing. They are saying we must prepare, number 1, the production cost statement. Okay, the production cost statement, and this is the information that we are given. Information A, B, C, and D. I think that's it. That's the only information we are given. A, B, C, and D. We're going to use this little piece of information to complete our production cost statement right here. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing on production cost statement is what? Is the direct material cost. The direct material cost. We all know the direct material cost. There is a special formula for it. If maybe they did not give you the answer, you use the special formula to get your direct material cost. So let me just get this paper. So for direct material cost, this is the formula. Direct material cost is equals to opening raw materials plus purchases minus any returns of raw material plus carriage on purchases, then minus the closing stock of raw material, the closing balance. It will give you the direct material cost. The other name for direct material cost is what? Is raw materials issued. Take this very serious. Raw materials issued. So what does this mean? What is raw material issued? Raw material issued is the case where they say 50,000 of the direct materials was issued to the factory. That's the answer that you want. It's either they will call it direct material cost or they will call it raw materials issued. So if they did not give you direct material cost or they did not give you raw material issued, which means you are supposed to do this formula. Take your opening direct material cost plus your purchases plus minus your return plus your carriage on purchases minus your closing raw materials. We are dealing with raw materials, the ones that we are going to use in our factory. So we're taking the opening raw material plus the purchases raw material minus the return the raw material plus the carriage of raw material minus the closing of raw material. Once you do this, you will get your raw materials issued to the factory. That's the one you put in factory overhead. You get me? So make sure you understand this. That's the one you put in factory overhead. They call it raw materials issued or they call it direct material cost. It's either they call it direct material cost or they call it raw material issued. So if they did not call it any of these two names, which means you are supposed to do this whole formula. But if in your information they did call it direct material cost, which means they've given you the answer. If they did call it raw material issued, which means they've given you the answer. So repeat this. Let's go and check our information. What is it that we are given in this information? So in this information, costs, we are given the direct material for 1,135,000. That's the direct material for 1,135,000. So what did I say? I said once they give you direct material cost or raw materials issued, it means they've given you the final answer, the one that you are supposed to put on your direct material cost on factory overhead. Once they give you these direct materials. So which means they've given us the final answer. There is no need for us to go on again and do the formula of saying opening plus purchases minus what. They've already given us direct material cost, also called aka raw materials issued. They have already given us the answer. That's the one that goes to factory overhead. Factory overhead. That's the one that goes to factory overhead. I hope you understand me. So this is the one. Direct materials. You see? This is not opening. This is not closing. This is direct material. The other name for direct material is also called what? Raw materials issued. Raw materials issued. This is the direct materials issued at the factory. So if you were supposed to use this formula of saying opening plus purchases, they were going to say direct opening balance of direct materials. Once they give you opening balance, purchases of direct materials, closing balance of direct materials, you are supposed to use this formula, my friend. You are supposed to use this formula. Once they give you opening of direct material plus purchases of direct material, you are supposed to use this formula. But now they did not give us more opening. They did not mention anything about opening. They just says costs, very important, before adjustment. Costs before adjustment, which means this direct material cost, which is our final answer, the one that we need, it's not really the final answer because they said what? It's before adjustment. Before adjustment, which means this is not really the final answer, even though it is the final answer because we are not supposed to start afresh from using the formula of opening plus purchases. But we have to check the adjustment first. What is the adjustment saying? So let's go to the adjustments. Here are the adjustments. Okay, let's check. They are saying, number one, the payment to NIP Transport of 88,000 was incorrectly allocated to the selling and distribution section. This payment was for delivery of timber to be used in production. Timber to be used in production. So this was for transport. Transport of how much? Of 88,000. It was incorrectly, meaning mistakenly or wrongly allocated to the selling and distribution section. Remember, selling and distribution section is the section whereby we're advertising, we're distributing, and we're selling all our goods. But this was a mistake. It was this 88,000 was not supposed to be included in the selling and distribution. This 88,000, this was a payment for delivery of timber to be used in production. Where do we produce? Where do we produce? In production. We produce at the factory. So this was for transport of timber to be used in the factory. And to be used in the production, it means this is a direct material because it is used in the production. Direct material is anything that you can see in the real production. For an example, the plastic used to make these buttons of the calculator. These were direct materials. They were transported from somewhere else to somewhere else. So you cannot take these plastics that were used and put them in the administration or in the selling and distribution. You are supposed to take these plastics and put them in the factory. Where in the factory? In the direct material cost, because they are direct. You can touch them, these plastics. They are directly included in our calculator. Why is my calculator not working now? Okay, let me pause a bit. Oh, okay, let's continue. I managed to fix my calculator. Right, so let's continue. Yeah, so I was explaining the direct material cost here. I was explaining the direct material cost. That this direct material cost is the one that we're supposed to use in the factory. And then go back and revise. I will just go straight to the answer now. So let's read the adjustment. They say this 88,000. This 88,000 was incorrectly allocated to the selling and distribution. This was the payment for delivery to be used in the factory or in the production process, which means it's a direct material. But it was mistakenly included where? In the selling and distribution, whereas it was supposed to be included where? In the direct material cost. As I was still making an example with the calculator, that this is a direct material because this plastic is a direct material. This plastic is a direct material. It's supposed to be used in the factory to produce the calculator. It's not supposed to be used in the selling and distribution. So this 88,000, we're supposed to remove it on selling and distribution and add it where? On direct material cost. So let's go on and do it. Spend so much time explaining one thing here. So on the direct material, don't forget to open your brackets. Open brackets. You take your direct material from here, which is how much? Is 1,135,000. So it's 1,135,000 plus the one which was mistakenly included in the selling and distribution. This one. Let's add it. This 88,000 that was incorrectly allocated in the selling and distribution. We remove it from selling and distribution. We're going to remove it there when we're dealing with selling and distribution. And now we're adding it on direct materials, this 88,000. So let's add it plus 88,000, close bracket. Don't forget to show your workings in brackets, guys, because even if you are wrong, you can get operation marks. So it's 1,135,000 plus 88,000. Then we're getting 1,223,000. That's it. That's our direct material cost. We're done. Now let's move on to direct labor cost, which is number 2. Direct material plus direct labor cost is equals to prime cost. So our direct labor cost, let's check. Do we have any information on direct labor? We don't have anything here. We don't have anything. We don't have production wages. We don't have wages and salaries, which means there is no information for direct labor. As you can check, there is no information for direct labor. So let's pass that one just to save time. We will do it on another paper. Maybe it will be there when we do another paper. But on this paper, there is no direct labor cost. So we just pass it. It's a balancing figure. So if there is no direct labor, which means they've given us prime cost, how can we get the prime cost without direct labor? Which means somehow they've given us prime cost. Because when you say direct material plus direct labor, you get what? Your prime cost. So now we don't have direct labor. So let's check if we do have prime cost. Prime cost here. Information number D. They are saying prime cost is equals to 2,090,000 after adjustments, which means this is the final answer. Remember this one, it was before adjustment. That's why we adjusted and added the 88,000. But this prime cost they are saying is after adjustments. So it's the final answer. It's 2,090,000. So our prime cost is 2,090,000. All right. Now we have our prime cost, 2,090,000. Now it's time to get our direct labor cost. When you say direct labor cost plus direct material cost, it gives you prime cost. Now you do have the prime cost, but you don't have this one here, which means you go up. You say your prime cost minus your direct material cost. When you go up, you subtract, it changes signs. So your prime cost will be how much? 2,090,000 minus your direct material cost, which will be 1,223,000. So which means we will get 187,000. Sorry, 800. It's 867,000. 867,000. That's our direct labor cost. Now, when you say your direct labor cost plus your direct material, which is 1,223,000, you will get your prime cost, which is how much? 2,090,000. 2,090,000. 2,090,000. That's how you get your prime cost. So if you have any question, just go back and revise, or you can ask there on the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe, guys, so that I can continue getting more oomph to do more videos. The oomph is very important. Without the oomph, no videos will come. So now let's go to factory overhead cost. Factory overhead cost. Remember, there is a note for factory overhead cost. The note for factory overhead cost, where it says your indirect material cost plus your indirect labor cost plus all your expenses, rent, factory insurance, factory water and electricity, in like everything. That's the note here. But now let's check if we are supposed to do that, or maybe they've given us the final answer as well. Let's check our factory overheads. Okay, seems like they've given us the final answer. Factory overheads right here. Factory overheads right here is how much? Is 504,800. 504,800. That's our factory overhead cost. But it's before adjustment, which means we have to go and check the adjustments to correct this 504,800. So let's check the adjustment for factory overhead costs. What are they saying? Yeah, I think it's bullet number 2 here. Bullet number 2 here is the one that is talking about factory overhead. They are saying the cleaning contract for the year amounted to 150,000. It's a cleaning contract, which means it's a wages for cleaners, indirect labor. Wages for cleaners. Cleaners are indirect labor. So it was 150,000, but it was shared. it was incorrectly shared between the factory and administration section in the ratio of 2:1, which means incorrectly it was shared. They gave the factory how many percent? They gave the factory 2%, then they gave the administration 1%, and this was incorrect. So what was the correct thing? They said 75% of this expense relates to the factory. 75% of this expense relate to the factory. I hope you understand. They made a mistake. They took 2%, 2 out of 3. They recorded it where? In the factory. Then they took 1%. They recorded it where? In the administration. This was all incorrect. What was supposed to be done was 75% was supposed to be allocated to the factory only. So let's fix this. To fix this, first of all, step 1, you correct this mess that they did here. You remove the mess, the 2% that they included in the factory. You remove it. Once you have removed it, you put in the 75%, which is what was supposed to be done from the first place. Okay? So let's go on and do it. So the amount was how much? The amount, they said it was 150,000. So we write it down. 150,000. But it was incorrectly shared between the factory and administration in the ratio of 2:1, which means a factory they included times 2 over 2 plus 1, it gives us 3. 2 over 3. So how much did they include in factory? Going to say 150,000 in our calculator times 2 over 3. Then we get how much? It's 100,000, which means they incorrectly included 100,000 incorrectly. They incorrectly included the 100,000. How much were they supposed to include? The adjustment says 75% of this expense relates to the factory, which means this is wrong. What was right? They were supposed to take 150,000 times 75 over 100. So how much were they supposed to put in factory? Let's punch our calculator. It's 150,000 times 75 over 100. Then we're getting how much? We're getting 112,500. So we're getting 112,500. This is what was supposed to be included in the factory. This is correct. This is what was supposed to be done. So you see, two amounts. They included 2:1, which is 2 over 3, right? Which was wrong. They were supposed to include how many percent? 75%, which is this one. 150,000 times 75 over 100, which gives us 102,500. So this is the answer again. This is what you were supposed to do. You were supposed to take your factory overhead amount, which is 504,800. 504,800. Then remove the one that was incorrectly recorded, which is how much? Which is 100,000. We remove that one, minus 100,000. Then we add the one that we were supposed to record, which is how much? The 75%, which is 112,500 plus 112,500. So how much will be our answer? Let's punch the calculator. Going to say 504,800 minus 100,000 plus 112,500. So it's 517,300. 517,300. So we're supposed to record 517,300. You get it? So that's what you are supposed to put in factory. We take the amount for factory overheads, which is 504,000. We take it, then we subtract the one that they incorrectly recorded, which is 100,000. Then we add the one that was supposed to be recorded, which is 112,500. Then the real amount for factory overhead is 517,300. That's the real amount. Factory overhead. So these ones, you show them in your brackets under factory overhead. So let's go on and put it there. Let's go on under factory overhead. Under factory overhead, we said it's 504,000. Okay, open brackets. 504,000. Then it says minus 100,000. All right, going to say minus 100,000, and then it says plus 112,500. Plus 112,500. Close brackets. So the final answer that we got was how much? Was 517,300. So that will be your factory overhead. 517,300. Go back and revise how I arrived here. Go back and revise. It's a video, guys. You can just simply go back without being ashamed of raising a hand. You don't raise a hand here. You simply go back and watch the video up until you understand the explanation. That's the nice thing about learning online and on YouTube. It's mostly beneficial. So now we're almost done. Back to our thing here. Direct material cost plus direct labor cost. We got our prime cost. Now we're going to say prime cost plus factory overhead cost. We are going to get what? The amount that is supposed to be here. We can call that amount total manufacturing cost. Manufacturing cost. Total manufacturing cost. Even if you did not just write that amount, as long as you have written the answer that is needed here. Even if you did not write this total manufacturing cost, as long as you know, when you add your factory overhead cost plus your prime cost, you say prime cost plus factory overhead cost, you get this amount that is supposed to be here. It's called total manufacturing cost. So let's get it. We can say our prime cost. How much is our prime cost? Our prime cost is 2,090,000. So we punch on our calculator, 2,090,000 plus our factory overhead cost, which is how much? 517,300. So we plus 517,300. So we are going to get an amount of 2,607,300. 2,607,300. That's it. 2,607,300. So that's our total manufacturing cost. Then our production cost statement continues. It says you must add work in process at the beginning. Work in process at the beginning. Let's check our information. Do we have work in process at the beginning? Okay, it's information number A. There is work in process on 28 February 2022. There is work in process on 1 March 2021. So 2021 is the beginning. 2022 is the end. And they did not give us work in process at the end. But they did give us work in process at the beginning, which is how much? 240,000. So we add the work in process at the beginning, which is 240,000. Bear in mind, guys, that in some other activities, it might happen you don't get any work in process. They will simply say at the top that there was no work in process at the beginning and there was no work in process at the end. which means on your work in processes, you put 0, you put 0. But in this activity, there is work in process. So in future, when you come across an activity with no work in process, don't be scared, put 0. All right. Now we do have working process at the beginning. Beginning. Working process at the beginning is 240,000. Now what's left is when you say your total manufacturing cost or this unknown amount that I said, you can just simply write with no name. When you say that amount plus your working process at the beginning, it gives you another unknown amount. All right, which you are supposed to put here. Then you take that other unknown amount, you minus work in process at the end. Do we have work in process at the end? Already you have seen it. There is no work in process at the end. Work in process at the end is a question mark. So which means work in process at the end, we don't have anything. And don't worry, even here on direct labor cost, we did not have anything, but we were able to move up and get our direct labor. Go back and revise how we got it, because it's the same way we're going to do it here. We're going to move up and get our working process at the end. So now let's get this unknown value to fill in this gap here. This unknown value, we get it by saying this amount, total manufacturing cost plus working process at the beginning. So our total manufacturing cost is how much? Is 2,607,300. So we punch our calculator. Is 2,607,300. Then we're going to say plus our working process at the beginning, which is how much? 240,000. So we add plus 240,000. We are going to get 2 million and okay, it's how much? Is 2 million? Is 2,847,300. 2,847,300. That's the amount. Now we are left with working process at the end. Remember, working process at the end, you are supposed to subtract it. It's a minus. It's a minus. Always. Working process at the end, it's a minus. But remember, we already said there is no working process at the end. As you can check here, there is no working process at the end. It's a question mark. We only have 2 for working process in the beginning. Now, working process at the end, we don't have it. So what do? We pass it. We don't care. We pass. We go to total cost of production. Usually they give you this amount. How will they give you this amount for total cost of production? They will say 2,400 units or whatsoever. 2,400 basketballs were produced at 30 Rand each. You look for that information. That's the answer for here. So you take the number of units, multiply by the unit cost. So let's check that information. This one is a free mark. I don't want to see anyone getting this one wrong. They give you answer here, but they will not call it total cost of production. This is how they will call it. Let's check. Information number P. They will say 7,500 tables. What happened to 7,500 tables? They are saying 7,500 tables were produced at a unit cost of 370 each. That's the answer for total cost of production. That's the answer for here, total cost of production. So we say, okay, how many units were produced? Is 7,500. So we punch down, we produce 7,500 units, multiply by the unit cost. We produce 7,500 tables at how much? At a unit cost of 370 each. So we multiply by 370, which means we produced 7,500 tables. But each table costed us how much? 370. So we want to find out how much did all of them cost us. We say 370 by the total. So we will get the total cost of production for the year. Okay, this is a free mark, guys. We are going to say, okay, this sun. We are going to say 370 times how much? 7,500. You can say 7,500 times 370. It's still the same answer. So our answer will be 277,500. 277,500. That's our total cost of production. Now we are only left with one gap, which is the working process at the end. Very simple thing. Now you go up. Remember, when you go down, you're supposed to say this unknown amount of 2,847,300, this amount, minus what? Working process at the end is equals to this one. So now, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to say this amount, we go up and do what? We add back here. All right. Let's punch 277,500 to 847,300. So we get how much? Is 3,124,800. Then when we minus that one again, 2,847,300, we're supposed to get the same amount. So I hope you get it, guys. When we go down, we're supposed to say this one minus this one. We're supposed to get this. Now, when we go up, since we minused when we go down, when we go up, we add, right? But if we added when we go down, when we go up, we do what? We minus. If we added this amount when we go down, then when we decide to go up again, we're supposed to minus. Now, we took this one and subtracted this one, which means we minus these two amounts in order to get this one. Now, when we go up, we do what? We add them. We do the opposite of what we did at the beginning. So what do? We're supposed to subtract. We're supposed to add these two amounts, which is 2,847,300 plus 277,500. I already punched, but let me punch again. It's 2,847,300 plus 277,500. 277,500. We're going to get how much? 3,124,800. That's it. 3,124,800. That's our working process at the end. So when we take this unknown amount and then we subtract this working process at the end, it's going to give us this one. Punch it, you will see. So once you do this, you get your 14 marks free of charge. Okay. So we're done with the first puzzle of this paper. Now we're going to do the second one. The second one. Okay, let's get back to it. 2.1.2. What are we supposed to prepare here on 2.1.2? They are saying prepare the abridged statement of comprehensive income for the year ended 28 February 2022. Yeah, you do come across this income statement on manufacturing. The abridged income statement on manufacturing. You do come across it. And it's for how many marks? It's for 14 marks as well. This is a very simple income statement. It's like the same income statement that you know. The only difference with this one is what? The only difference is that you say sales minus cost of sales. The way of calculating your cost of sales here is a bit different. Then you say gross profit is the same way. Operating expenses. There are only 3 operating expenses, which means we are supposed to do your administration cost, your selling and distribution cost. That's, oh, there are only two actually. Then you get your answer for administration, you get your answer for selling and distribution. You combine these two, you will get what? You will get your operating expenses. Then now gross profit minus operating expenses, you will get your net profit. Very simple, 14 marks this one. Now they want you to pass. Once they give you this thing, they want you to pass. Very simple. Okay. Okay, so let's go on and do it. Sales, let's go and check. Sales, they give us sales. They will say, in order for them to give us sales, they will say maybe 2,000 units were sold at 4 rand each. We want that one. Or maybe 5,000 units were sold at 5 rand each, whatsoever they say. I think it's information number B. Number B, they are saying 8,350 tables were sold for 4,175,000. You see, they did not say each. They said 8,350,000 tables were sold for 4,175,000. They did not say each. If they said each, we're going to take this amount, multiply by the number of tables in order to get the total value. But now they already given us the total value. They said 8,350 tables were sold. Okay, that's fine. For how much? For 4,175,000. Obviously, common sense speaks here. You cannot say sell one table for 4 million, right? You cannot sell one table for 4,175,000. You can never do that. There is no such a table for 4 million. Maybe there is, but hey, not for now. Not for now. So, which means this full amount is the full amount. This 4 million is the total amount for all these tables. You see, so there is no need to take this one and multiply by this one again. This is the total number or the total amount that you receive, the 4 million. You receive this 4 million by selling 8,350 tables. But if it was 400 each, sold for 400, then you know you're going to say that 400 multiplied by 8,350. 400 is such a smaller amount. You cannot sell each table for that amount, right? Maybe you can. Yeah. So let's continue. They already told us the sales amount is 4,175,000. So let's write it here. The sale is 4,175,000. 4,175,000. They've given you. Okay. Now let's go to cost of sales. Cost of sales, remember, I said this one is a bit different. So I will give you a formula to calculate cost of sales. Cost of sales, we are going to say finished goods at the beginning finished goods at the beginning plus total cost of production minus finished goods at the end. Is equals to cost of sales. Is equals to cost of sales when it comes to manufacturing. Sorry. So this is our formula. This is our formula for cost of sales. Finished goods at the beginning plus total cost of production. What is total cost of production? Well, total cost of production is this one. The one that you get from your production cost statement. The one that you get from your production cost statement. The answer, the final answer, this 277,500. That is your total cost of production. Even if it's wrong here, even if it's wrong, take it as it is and come and use it here. Because if you do that, you're going to get those marks. Just to appreciate that you are able to follow the procedure, to follow the rules. So you are going to get that mark, even if it's wrong. That's why it's important to fill in here, guys, and calculate accurately. Don't just think and write. Calculate accurately. Punch your calculator and write these amounts. Direct material plus direct labor. Even if your direct labor is wrong, punch it and get this amount. Then say this amount, prime cost plus factory overhead. Even if it's wrong, punch it as it is, up until you come to the final answer. You may be surprised you get a lot of marks here by doing wrong things, because accounting is all about following the rules and the procedures. It's not about being 100% accurate. You can be 100% accurate as you move on and gain more accounting skills. But for now, it's not about that. If you are not 100% accurate, make sure you punch your calculator correctly. Get those answers. Even if they are wrong, come and use this total cost of production here. You'll get a free mark. Not even a free mark, free marks. So take that and use it, guys. That's a cheat code. Use that cheat code. So now I've already shown you. Now let's try to get our finished goods at the beginning and our finished goods at the end, because I've already shown you how to get total cost of production. So let's get the goods. Okay, maybe I must first explain this formula. Why am I using this formula in common sense to get cost of sales? Why am I using this formula? Okay, the reason I am using this formula is because finished goods at the beginning, this is the cost of our goods that we had, that were finished and ready to be sold at the beginning of the year. Then when you add the total cost of production for the year, which means you are adding other goods that you produced during the year from those that you had at the beginning. So which means the number of goods that you have ready to be sold have increased. So the finished goods at the beginning, the ones that you finished, you had 4 cell phones that you finished producing at the beginning of the year. That's the finished goods. You say 4 cell phones plus total cost of production. So you produce 10 cell phones during the year. So you're going to say 4 cell phones plus 10. So which means you have more cell phones now. Then you minus the finished goods at the end of the year. Why do you minus the finished goods at the end of the year? Because you want to see how many cell phones did you sell. So when you say you had 4 cell phones plus 10 cell phones that you produced, which means now you are having how many cell phones? 14 cell phones. Then when you check at the end of the year, you find out that you are left with finished goods or cell phones of how many cell phones? You are left with 4 cell phones now. Which means from the 4 plus 10, you are left with 4 at the end. 4 at the beginning, 10 that you produced during the year, which resulted in 14 cell phones. Now, how much did you finish producing at the end? At the end, you are left with 4, which means how much did you sell? How much did you sell? Which means you sold 10 cell phones. Let me just write it down for you. So finished goods at the beginning, we are saying maybe we're having 4 cell phones at the beginning plus total cost of production. How many phones did we produce? We produced 10, which means we now have 14 cell phones ready to be sold. Then we minus the cell phones finished goods at the end. We find out that at the end, we're left with how many phones? We're left with 4 cell phones. What happened to the 4 and 10? Which means we sold them. How much? We sold 10. We sold 10. And that is your cost of sales. I don't know if you understand me. You opened with 4. You produced how much? 10. Then you are left with how much at the end? You are left with 4. What happened to the other 10? Which means you sold them. That's your cost of sales. Go back and repeat why I'm saying this. It will help you a lot. Don't just cram. sometimes these things you need to understand them. So okay, now let's go get our cost of sales. We said we want finished goods at the beginning, so let's get it. Finished goods at the beginning. Finished goods, this is finished goods. Then at the beginning, which is 1 March 2021, they said 1,120 tables at how much? 330. You are simply taking the 1,120 multiplied by 330. You are going to get how much? 369,000. Because sometimes they will not give you this 369,000. They will say 1,120 tables at 330, which means you are going to say 1,120 multiplied by 330. Then you will get the answer of finished goods at the beginning, which is 369,600. So open brackets, the finished goods at the beginning is 369,600. Okay, this is it, 369,600. Then plus, we add what does our formula say? Our formula say we add total cost of production. Total cost of production is the word we get from our production cost statement. The total cost of production, even if it's wrong, take it as it is. I don't know how to emphasize this, but I hope you can see how serious I am. You take it as it is. It's 277,500. So we add it plus total cost of production for the year is 277,500. Then the formula says what? What does the formula say? It says we are supposed to minus the finished goods at the end of the year. So let's go and find out the finished goods at the end of the year. This is the finished goods on February 2022. They said it's 270 tables. You see, now they did not give us the full amount like here. Here they gave us the full amount. But here they said how much tables did we finish producing or at the end of the year. They said it's 270 tables. You cannot come here and say minus 270. Don't do that, please. You cannot do that. You are going to say this 270 multiplied by a certain amount. Just like we did here. We said 120 tables multiplied by 330. Then we got this amount. Same thing as here. We are going to say the 270 tables multiplied by a unit cost of how much unit were we producing. I mean, how much did each unit cost us to produce this year? The unit cost of production for the year. That's what we used for finished goods at the end. For finished goods at the beginning, we want the unit cost of production for the previous year, which was 330. That's what we multiplied this with. But here, we want the unit cost of production for the current year. And this is where we get it. Number B, production. They say 7,500 units were produced. What was the unit cost for the year? That's what we want. The unit cost for 2022. What was it? The unit cost of 370. Very important. So we're going to multiply by 370. That's the unit cost. We produced 270 tables at how much? At 370. That's the unit cost for the year. Don't know how. Just go back and revise. Go back to the video. Go back and learn how much we got this and how much this. Like, just listen carefully. Don't just listen for the sake of listening or ending time. Listen to the whole video. Take those key things that I'm telling you and apply them. Practice as much question papers as you can. You will see these things, they're repeating each other every now and then. They keep on repeating. But if you don't want to practice, you won't see this. You will think it's hard. Accounting is hard. So here is we are not in class whereby you will be asked to raise a hand and you will be scared. Here, if you are scared, comment there. I will reply to you. If you're scared, go back, rewind the video and listen carefully for your own benefit. Ne? Yes. So that's the unit cost. Each unit this year we produced it with 370. So we're going to say 270 tables multiplied by 370. Then how much are we going to get? 270 multiplied by 370 is equals to how much is our working process at the end? Let's punch 270 multiplied by 370. We're going to get 99,900. As you can see, it's in the calculator. Yeah, so as you can see on our calculator is 99,900. Yes, so let's go on here and say we minus the 99,900. That's the finished goods at the end of the year. So that's how we get our cost of sales. We say finished goods at the beginning plus total cost of production, which is this one. Then minus what? The finished goods at the end of the year. So let's punch our calculator in order to get our cost of sales. Remember, cost of sales is always in brackets. If you don't put it in bracket, your answer is wrong. So let's do this cost of sales thing. We're going to say 4,175,000. Oh, sorry. Let's first get the cost of sales total. We're going to say 369,600 plus 277,500 minus 999. So which means our cost of sales is 547,200. Let's write it down. 547,200. Make sure you go and rewind the video to find out how we got this cost of sales. This 547,200. So now let's continue with our abridged income statement. This says sales 4,175,000 minus cost of sales 547,200 in order for us to get our gross profit. So our sales is 4,175,000 minus cost of sales, which is 547,200. So our sales minus our cost of sales, we get 3,627,800. 3,627,800. That's our gross profit. So that's it, guys. We are pushing very well here. I hope you understand each and everything. Just go and rewind the video. If you don't understand, ask in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe as well. We need more subscribers, guys. We need more subscribers. So don't just watch and click that subscribe button. It does not take a second. And then thank you. I see you are subscribing right there. Thank you. So now let's go to our operating expenses. Remember, operating expenses is always a minus, right? And in this abridged income statement, what makes operating expenses? Operating expenses is created by administration cost plus selling and distribution. So we have to go back to our administration cost and our selling and distribution cost. We have to go back. So let's check. Let's start with our administration cost right here. Administration cost is how much? 169,700. But they are saying it's before adjustment, which means somewhere, somehow in this adjustment, there is something that we need to add or minus on this administration cost. So we are simply going to put it in brackets. The administration cost of how much? 169,700. It's not a final answer. So we say open brackets, 169,000, how much? 169,700. 169,700. That's our administration cost. Then we need to get the final answer for here, but we cannot get the final answer until we go through the adjustment, because they say this amount is before adjustment, it's pre-adjustment. So let's read the adjustment. Any adjustment that is going to talk about administration cost. So let's check. Number one is talking about distribution. Number one is not it. Let's check number two. Number two is indeed talking about administration, and we already did this one. So let's read what it is saying now. They are saying the cleaning contract for the year of 150,000 was incorrectly shared between the factory and the administration in the ratio of 2:1. What does that mean? Which means in the factory, there is a factory, then there is an admin. In the factory, they gave how many percent? They gave 2%. In the admin, they gave how many percent? 1%. In the admin, they gave 1%. Whereas in the factory, they gave 2%. And this was incorrect. This was incorrectly recorded. So what is the right thing here? The right thing, they are saying 75% of this expense relates to the factory. That's the right thing. If 75%, 100 minus 75, if 75% relates to the factory, how much relates to the admin? You simply say 100 minus 75, which means admin is how many percent? Is 25%. So admin is how many percent? 25%. So we're supposed to allocate how many percent? 25% in the admin. In the admin. So this was the right thing. Then how much was that expense? Is how much? Is 150,000. So we've already did this for factory here, if you can remember. For factory, we said 150,000 times 2/3. Then factory, they incorrectly recorded 100,000. Whereas they were supposed to say 150,000 times 75/100. This is what they were supposed to include. And this is what we did for factory. Right? Now for admin, we are doing the opposite. We say the amount was 150,000. This is the 150,000 here. 150,000 multiplied by admin, they said it's how many percent? Factory, they said it's 2, admin is 1. Factory is 2, admin is 1. Which means if we want for admin, we are going to multiply by 1/3. Since in factory we said multiply by 2/3. Admin we're going to say multiply by 1/3, which is this one. Admin is 1. So we're going to say 150,000 times 1/3, which is how much? 50,000. So it's 50,000. It was recorded incorrectly, which means it was wrong. It was wrong. What was right? They were supposed to say 150,000 times. Remember, we said if factory is 75, how much is admin? Admin is 25%, which means they were supposed to say 150,000 times 25/100. So we get how much? We're going to say 150,000 times 25/100. So it gives us 37,500. It gives us 37,500. 500. Hope you get it. So this is what was supposed to be recorded in admin. So now, how do we fix this mistake? If you can see, we follow the same steps that we followed car factory overhead. Step 1, same thing. Step 2, same thing. Now, the last step, which is this one, is the answer that you are supposed to write on your administration cost on brackets. Okay, that's step 3 here. So we're going to take our administration cost amount, right? Then we minus what they did wrong, which means they gave 1% out of 3 to the admin, and that was wrong. It was incorrect. So we minus that amount, which is how much? 50,000. Then we add back what? We add back the correct amount. The correct amount, which is how much? The correct amount is 37,500. So we add back the 37,500. Then we're going to get our final answer for administration. First of all, let's get the administration cost. So the administration cost before adjustment is 169,700. So the administration cost is 169,700. So let's punch our calculator. It's 169,700 plus 50,000 minus it's minus the wrong one, which is 50,000, plus the right one, which is 37,500. So we get an amount of 157,200. That's the amount for administration. That's the amount for administration. Go back and revise this adjustment. Ne? Go back and revise this adjustment. This is this adjustment, this one, where they say the cleaning contract for the year of 150,000 was incorrectly shared between factory and administration section in the ratio 2:1. It was incorrect. The correct thing, they were supposed to allocate 75,000 of this expense to the factory, 75% of this expense to the factory, and 25% of this expense to the administration. That's what they were supposed to do. So this is what we did here. Administration, they were supposed to say 150,000 times 25%. Then we got this amount of 37,500. That's what we added here. Whereas they did the mistake of allocating 1%, which gave us 50,000. We subtracted that 50,000. We added the correct amount. Then we got an administration cost of 157,200. That's it. Go back and revise, guys. Go back and revise. So under administration cost now, it is simple. It's simple. We're going to say, okay, the administration was 169,700. Then we minus the 50,000, which was incorrectly allocated, minus 50,000. We add back the 25%, which is equals to 37,500. Then we close bracket. We are going to get the total for our administration cost right here. Then we punched the total. We find out which is how much. We find out that it's 157,200. 157,200. That's the administration cost. So we are done with administration now. Go back and rewind the video to find out why we did administration like this. Now let's go to the other part, which is selling and distribution. These adjustments are pretty much very simple, guys. Just revise. If you need this paper to practice on your own, simply request there. I did put my email address, I did put my WhatsApp digits. Just send those questions if you need them. Request, I will send you this question paper, because it's not available on our website, on that website which I'm usually using. It's not available, this question paper. So you can request it via email address or on WhatsApp. I can send it to you so that you practice it on your own. You get used to this adjustment, then you correct yourself by referring to this video. That's how you pass, guys. That's how you pass. You don't pass by just relaxing and sitting down. No, you don't pass. Accounting, you don't pass it like that. Accounting, you need to practice and get your brain used. Get your brain used to this thing. Once your brain is used, it will be simple, because they repeat one and the same thing each and every day. So I know for some others it's very difficult, I understand, but you gotta practice. You don't have any other way. All right, let's go to selling and distribution now. Let's go to selling and distribution. Okay, selling and distribution, it's right here. Selling and distribution. How much is this? Is 430,500. 430,500, and they are saying it's before adjustment, which means there is an adjustment for selling and distribution that we are supposed to add or minus here on this 430,500. So far we just take it and put it there. It's a free mark just to do that, guys, to open the bracket and copy this amount as it is, the 430,500. It's a free mark. Come on, man. Is 430,000, just putting it there. Now after putting it there, you go to the adjustment and read what is it that they want on selling and distribution. What is it that they want on selling and distribution? So selling and distribution, I think they are talking about it right here on bullet number 1. Bullet number 1, what are they saying? They are saying payment to NIP Transport of 88,000. We did this one for factory. Go and rewind how we did it for factory. It's the opposite of how we will do it for administration. Oh, sorry, for selling and distribution. So they're saying the payment of 88,000 was incorrectly allocated to selling and distribution section. This was a payment for delivery of timber to be used in production. Production, we are talking about direct material cost or factory overhead cost. So what do they mean here? They mean this 88,000 was incorrectly allocated to the selling and distribution. This was not for selling and distribution. This was for the production. Production and selling and distribution, they don't go together. Production is where you produce your direct material cost, the ones that you use to produce your calculator. This plastic that we used right here, these plastic buttons, these are our direct material. But they included them where in the selling and distribution. We don't sell these plastics at the selling and distribution. We sell the full calculator. So we are supposed to minus this 88,000 from the selling and distribution, and we are supposed to add this 88,000 to the direct material cost. So we are supposed to minus this 88,000 from the selling and distribution. I hope you understand. So we go to our selling and distribution, we minus 88,000. As much as we've added each year on the direct material cost. That's what we were supposed to do. We added it on direct material cost and we are minusing it from selling and distribution. You see, these adjustments are interrelated. They are working together. They are working together. So we're going to say 430,500 minus 88,000. We get 432,500. That's our selling and distribution. Very simple. It's 342,500. 500. 342,500. Now we are left with one gap, operating expenses. We're left with operating expenses. Operating expenses. Remember, I said there are two kinds of operating expenses when we are dealing with the abridged income statement. It's the administration as well as the selling and distribution only. So which means to get our operating expenses, we get our admin expense, then we add it with our selling and distribution expense. When we add these two together, we're going to get our total operating expenses. So let's add them. Our admin is 342,500. 342,500 plus. Oh, our selling and distribution is 342,500 plus our administration of how much? 157,200 plus 157,200. Then we get an amount of 499,700. That's our operating expenses. 499,700. You see, even if your answer was wrong here, I will repeat again. Even if your answer was wrong here or was wrong here or here, punch your calculator still, get the final answer here. Punch your calculator correctly, get your final answer. Even if you did wrong, you don't trust yourself, don't leave gaps here. If you leave gaps, you are applying to fail. Because these are free marks. Now, when you take this one and add this one, even if they are wrong, you add it here. This one plus this one. Your administration cost plus your selling and distribution cost, they give you your operating expenses. Even if they are wrong, put them together. I don't know how to emphasize this. It makes me angry because when we are marking the papers, we will find out people are leaving gaps. And I'm telling them, do not leave gaps. Even if you don't trust yourself, try hard to punch your calculator correct and get an answer for here. Try, get an answer for here. Even if it's wrong, no one will punish you. We never said you have to be 100% accurate. And then punch these together and get your operating expenses. Even if it's wrong, you will get a mark. You will get marks. So I don't know whether you are listening or what, but this is very important because if you are struggling, these are the things that you are supposed to listen. These are the tips that are supposed to help you. Listen to them and go back to the video if you are not hearing me. Repeat what I'm saying. Do what I'm saying you must do. You will see. You will pass. But if you want to do your own things and leave gaps here, you are applying to fail. It's like they are giving you marks. They are saying these are free marks for you. Then you decide to leave. You decide to leave and not take those free marks. Like, what? Why don't you want those free marks? Do you want to fail? No, I want to pass. But I told you, punch the calculator correctly. Punch your calculator correctly. Get these answers, even if they are wrong. Okay? I hope you are listening. It's very important, that thing. Because some people, they fail because they don't want to listen to... They don't want to listen to us when we tell them these are free marks. Just listen to that and do what we are telling you. So now we say our gross profit minus our operating expenses. Even if your gross profit is wrong, do it. Gross profit minus operating expenses, you get your net profit. So let's do it. Our gross profit is 3627,800. That's our gross profit. It's 3627,800. 3627,800. Even if it's wrong, minus your operating expenses. Operating expenses is how much? It's 499,200. So minus 499. Oh, it's 499,700. Sorry. So we are left with 3,128,100. Even if you don't trust this answer, take it as it is. 3,128,100. So our net profit will be 3,128,100. 28,100. That's our net profit, and that's how you get your other 14 marks. So difficult, what is difficult? Nothing. Just go back and listen to the tips that I'm telling you, rewind the video, watch it and watch it. If you need this paper to practice on your own, don't hesitate, email me or WhatsApp me. Thank you. Let's do the last part of this question. We are not done. We are not done. Stick here. And if you did not subscribe, go back, click that thing. It does not even take a second, my friend. Just click that subscribe button so that the channel grows. Don't watch without subscribing. Thank you. so now let's go to the last part of this question. The last part, I don't think I will be writing anything. Maybe a few things. Maybe a few things, but it's not that important. Maybe I'll be writing for break-even point calculation. Break-even point calculation. Okay. Let's remove this one here. If you want to see the answers, here they are. You can screenshot. Then the other part, here it is. Then we are done. If you want to see the workings, here are some of the workings for direct material cost. Here you can screenshot. Okay, we're done with this one. We're done with the question paper. It's pre-trial 2022 if you need it. Now let's go to the other part, 2.2. This is a part where it's free marks. It's free marks all over this part. But the business is owned by Ashley Dwayne. It produces one brand of exclusive pens and calculators. There is no work in process stock. You see, there is no work in process stock. If you come across this on your production cost statement, which means your work in process stock will be zero. You don't even panic. There is no work in process stock. It's possible. There is no work in process. So now let's move. For pens, be careful here. They are saying we are focusing on pens. Calculators, we are going to focus on them on 2.2.2. But so far, all these questions, they are based on pens, which means we are supposed to look at the information for pens only for now. Pens only. Calculators, we will see it when we reach 2.2.2. So be careful of that. Don't mix the information. Now they are saying, provide a calculation to prove that the break-even point for pens in 22 is correct. Break-even point. Break-even point. So the formula for break-even point is equals to total fixed costs divided by selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit, also known as contribution. So we don't. So yeah, it's total fixed cost divided by selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit. So let's check our total fixed cost in order to calculate the break-even point here. So our total fixed cost for calculators in 2022, not 2021. So you don't use information for 2021. They said for 2022. So how much is our total fixed cost? This is our total fixed cost right here. It's 174,900. So total fixed cost is 174,900. Divide by contribution. Contribution is what? Selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit. Okay, so let's get our selling price per unit. Where is our selling price? This one here. This is a free mark. I don't want to see anyone getting break-even wrong. So our selling price per unit is 135. So we say 135 minus, the formula says minus what? Variable cost per unit, VCP. So how much is the variable cost per unit? Let's check it. Here it is, the variable cost per unit. Total variable cost per unit. You don't want total variable cost, you want per unit. That per unit is very important. So for 2022 is 80 rand, the variable cost. So we're going to minus 80 rand. Then we move on with our formula. So it's going to be 174,900 divided by 174,900 by our contribution. Contribution is 135 minus 8. Selling price per unit is 135. Then variable cost per unit is 80. So we're left with a contribution of 55. Now let's get our break-even point. We're going to say total fixed cost of 174,900 divide by 55. We're going to say our answer is 3,180 units. So that's your 3 months. That's how you get your break-even point. Let's see, because they said to prove. We prove, which they also got it as well. Ours is 3,180. Let's check theirs in 2022. So the break-even point in 2022, theirs is also 3,180, same as ours. So it's correct. Now there will be a question that will come. Oh, I'll be angry when people get this one wrong. They will say comment on the break-even point and the level of production. You check your break-even point. Okay, first point you are going to say, I won't write this down, I will just say it as it is. Just listen and you'll write it down as I'm talking. Point 1, you are going to say the break-even point for last year, which is 2021. Let's check it. You are writing it down. The break-even point for 2021 was 4,855 units. That's point number 1. Point number 2, the break-even point for 2022 is 3,180. Okay. Point number 3, the break-even point for 2022 is smaller than for 2021. Then point number 4, which means the business is doing fine because it takes us fewer units to produce in order for us to reach break-even than last year. Last year it took us 4,000 units. This year it's taking us 3,000 units in order for us to reach break-even. So the business is doing fine because the break-even has reduced. If the break-even has reduced, it means the business is doing fine. But if the break-even point has increased or improved, it means it's doing bad because it takes us longer time, or it takes us larger number of units for us to reach break-even. Remember, break-even is the point whereby we are not making a loss, we are not making a profit. If we produce 1 unit, we are making a loss. 2 units, we are making a loss. 3 units, we are making a loss. 4 units, we are making no loss and no profit. That's the break-even point. Then above 4, which is 5, we're making a profit. 6, we're making a profit. 7, we're making a profit. Whereas all over here, we were making losses. Now from 0.5, we're making a profit, we're making a profit, we're making a profit. So that's the importance of break-even point. The sooner we reach it, is the sooner we will make profit. So if the break-even point was at 2 units, which means the business is doing perfectly fine, because now we only produce 1 unit and we produce 2 units and we're making a profit. But if the break-even point was at 7 units, the business is doing bad. Why? Because now it takes us a longer period of time to produce and produce and produce up until we see profits. You see, that's how you comment on break-even. Use your common sense. Use what I just told you. So I'm done with break-even. That's how you get your 3 marks here. Now let's move to number 2. They are saying Ashley is not satisfied. They are saying Ashley is not satisfied with the variable cost per unit. Is not satisfied with the variable cost. This question is 3 marks, guys. Even though the total variable cost decreased, but he is not satisfied. Then point number 1, they are saying explain one possible reason for the change in the direct labor cost per unit. Here is the question. Explain one possible reason for the change in the direct labor cost per unit. Let's check. Remember, direct labor cost is the money that we pay to our workers. The workers that are involved in producing the product. So the money that we pay them, these direct labors, is what? It has changed. They are saying, let's give them a reason why it has changed. Let's go and check it out on the information. Remember, we're dealing with pens. So the direct labor cost for pens, here it is. Last year, the direct labor, this is how you answer it. Last year, the direct labor cost was 34 Rand per unit. This year, we are paying our directors 44 Rand per unit, which means we are paying them even more. Why? Let's check if they did produce. Units produced. Last year, they produced 8.5 units. This year, they produced 6,000 units. So, last year, they were producing 8.5 units, but we paid them less. This year, they are producing less units, and we pay them more. Why is that? This is the reason. Maybe there was a strike. So when you come across a question that talks about direct labor, this is what you do. Maybe there was a strike for labor negotiations, for salary. They were negotiating for salary, the unions. That's it. That's the answer for a change in direct labor. Direct labor are the workers. Why does the salary of workers change? This is a 3 mark. Salary of workers change because, number 1, they may be striking for wages or salary increase. Number 2, they may be working more slower. If they work slower, sometimes we pay them based on the number of hours worked. Because they are working a lot of hours, but we are paying them larger amounts. They go to work, they do nothing, they just sit down, and we pay them. You see, sometimes that may result in an increase, which means they are working slowly, they are not motivated. So that's why we keep on paying them more money, whereas they are not producing. Their work is not going. They are supposed to produce building, or they're supposed to produce calculators in 5 days, but them they take 100 days. We're supposed to pay them more money for those 100 days because they are not done. So sometimes because they are slow, sometimes they want an increase in their salaries, negotiations. That's the reason for the increase in direct labor. This is a question that will always be there in your exam. Now, let's move on. They're saying, provide one valid explanation why Ashley may be concerned about the decrease of either of the other variable cost. Comment only on one. So, but Ashley is concerned about the decrease of the other cost. He's concerned about the decrease of the other variable cost. Let's check them. Why he's concerned? Because the decrease is a good thing, but he's concerned about the decrease in variable cost. Let's check. So our variable cost, this is the total variable cost, and then it's made up of direct labor, it's made up of direct material, direct labor, is made up of selling and distribution. So these three, they are all called what? Variable cost, because they are under the heading of variable cost. Direct labor, direct material, and selling and distribution. They say they've decreased, but the owner is concerned that they have decreased. Let's check direct material first. Last year it was 40 rand, this year is 31 rand. So your answer is our direct material has decreased from 40 rand to 31 rand. Why did they decrease? Number one, the reason for a decrease in direct material, it means we are now buying this material maybe at a cheaper, affordable supplier. And remember, but the owner is not happy about that. Why is he not happy? It's because maybe the supplier may be selling cheaper, but his materials are very, very low quality, because cheaper does not always mean good. Cheaper can mean low quality, bad quality. And if it's bad quality, you will see by the number of units produced. They have decreased. Last year they were more and the cost was too much. This year we produced less units, which means the units were cheaper. If they are cheaper, let's say you are producing this calculator, you try to put this number here. As soon as you try to put it, it gets destroyed. You put another one, it gets destroyed. It gets destroyed, which means now the material that you are using is cheap. You will have to spend more. You see, which means it's cheap, but you are trying to produce. You are supposed to produce 10 calculators, but as much as you are producing, it keeps on getting destroyed during the process, which means the number of units produced will do what? Will decrease. The number of units produced will decrease because your material is now cheap. So cheap means low quality sometimes. So that's why. So direct labor, I've already spoken about it. Let's check selling and distribution. Give a reason for the decrease in selling and distribution cost. Selling and distribution is also under variable cost, as you can see. Last year, it costed us 10 rand to sell. Now it's costing us 5 rand. Why? Because we may have lost customers. Who will you distribute to if you don't have customers? Until your material is low quality, you no longer have customers now. Who will you distribute to if you have no customers? So that's why the distribution has decreased. You no longer go and deliver goods because people are no longer supporting you. That's why now we're selling 6,000. Last year we sold 8.5. People are no longer supporting you for those reasons. So let's move on. This is just a way to answer these questions, guys. Go ahead and repeat it again. Save it in your notes whatsoever. Number last, they are saying, provide Ashley with an explanation. Oh, this is what I just explained, right? This is what I just explained. Now let's go to 2.2.2. 2.2.2, remember, we are dealing with now calculators. We are dealing with calculators. They are saying, oh, there's the last one which I left here. This one we did it. This one we did not do it on pens. So let's do it this one. But see, Ashley does not understand why the unit cost of production has increased when neither his fixed cost nor variable cost have increased. Provide Ashley with an explanation. So let's go back. We are still on pens. So the unit cost of production, let's check it. They are saying the unit cost of production has increased. Yes, it has increased. Last year it was 105. This year it cost us 109. It has increased. Even though everything else here has decreased, but the unit cost of production has increased. Whereas the variable cost, what did they do? They decreased. But the unit cost increased. Why? Why did the unit cost increase? This is economies of scale. What does economies of scale mean? It means the more units we produce, is the more our unit cost of production will decrease. If we produce less units, it will cost us too much, because at the end of the day, you have to pay rent. Whether you produce 0 units or 1,000 units, you have to pay rent. So if you do pay that rent and you do not produce anything, your unit cost will be larger. You have to pay water. You have to pay for cleaners. You have to pay for supervisors at your factory. All those people, they don't care whether the workers are producing or not producing. You have to pay them. So that's economies of scale. I hope you understand. That's why the unit cost has increased, even though the number of units produced has decreased. We did not produce anything compared to last year, but the unit cost has increased. This is economies of scale. You are supposed to pay rent, you are supposed to pay fixed cost and all those things. Yeah, so let's move. Let's go to calculators now. Calculators, they say calculate the percentage increase in the selling price of calculators. This question you will also come across you will also come across it under budgeting. Calculate the percentage increase for whatsoever, for rent income, for insurance. Percentage increase, it's very simple. You take the amount for last year, you minus the amount for this year, you divide by the amount for last year, you multiply by 100. That's how you get percentage increase. So they said for what? They said calculate the percentage increase in the selling price of calculators. So we have to look at calculators and we look at the selling price. This is the selling price for calculators. Last year it was 250. This year is 385. So we say last year it was 250. This year is 385. Then divide by last year. Last year was 250 times 100. So let's punch. We're going to say last year 250 minus this year 385. We're going to get an amount of 135. Divide by last year, which is 250 times 100. So 135 divide by 250 times 100. So the percentage is 54%. 54%. So this is it. When you come across this budgeting, where they say calculate the percentage increase or whatsoever, when you come across this is what you do. You say previous plus current divide by previous. Last plus this year divide by last year. That's it. Then the next question, it says, they are saying, Ashley has taken significant decisions with regards to the variable costs. Provide a possible explanation for the change in any two of the variable costs. Let's check his variable costs that have changed. Ashley, variable cost. Remember, these are the variable costs, the heading. Then under it, we have direct material, which means last year it was 63. This year it has increased. Then we have direct labor. Last year it was 69. This year is 92. We have selling and distribution. Last year it was 5 rand. This year is 47. You can see that Ashley's direct labors have increased. Ashley's direct material has increased. Ashley's selling and distribution has increased. All of them. So they are compared to calculators comparing to Mapens. Mapens, all the variable cost have reduced. Whereas calculators, all the variable cost has increased. So why has it increased? The direct material cost has increased. Why? Give a possible reason for the increase in direct material cost from 63 rand to 110. It means we have found a supplier which is more expensive. That's the opposite of ngala, because it has decreased. If it has decreased, it means we have found a supplier which is cheap. So here the supplier is more expensive. So if it's more expensive, it means probably the material is maybe high quality. We don't know. But let's check units sold. Last year we sold 7,250. This year we sold 8.9, which means indeed the material was in demand. So people have purchased more of our goods than last year. This is due to the increase in the material, which means the material was quality. Then direct labor cost. Direct labor cost, it has also increased from 69 Rand to 92. Why? We paid our laborers more. We paid our laborers more. Why? Maybe they were negotiating for a salary increase, they were striking. Number two, maybe we're paying them incentives because they produced more units. So we pay them incentives, we thank them. Then selling and distribution, it has increased from 5 Rand to a flipping 47 Rand. That's another big thing. So which means we're selling too much here. We're selling too much. That's why we changed from 5 Rand to a huge 47 Rand per unit. Which means we're selling too much. We're distributing our goods to a lot of customers. How do you notice that? You notice it by the number of goods sold. From 7.2 to 8.9. That's why the selling and distribution has increased. It means also we're paying more advertisement. Advertisement is under selling and distribution. We're paying more advertisement. I hope you understand. So they will say, give the owner an advice on how to reduce the direct material cost. Number one, you may say, find a cheaper supplier, but the supplier must be selling cheaper with high quality goods. That's how you solve the problem of direct material cost. How do you solve the problem of direct labor cost? If you have too much direct labor cost, how can you help the owner? This is how you help him. Tell him to reduce over time. Now, selling and distribution. How can you solve the problem of selling and distribution cost? Tell him to maybe charge for delivery. You cannot deliver goods for free. Charge for delivery. So that's it, guys. That's it for today. That's it for this paper. I hope you did understand. I did try to cover as much things as possible. And I hope before your final exam, I will do another paper on manufacturing. Yeah, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Don't forget to subscribe. Hey, subscribe. All of you who will be watching this, subscribe. Click there. Just click. Thank you. So don't forget all the tips that I gave you here. Go again and revise this paper. Listen to the tips. Apply them. And you will pass. All the best, guys. Love you.